Well, hello everyone, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are, from the south of England, the rainy and cold south of England. Welcome to the second session on leadership skills. We start really from customer successes, but this is a sort of departure point, but really this is something that will cover a range of leadership skills and is applicable to variety to various situations. So even if you're not directly involved with customer success, I think this is, well, hopefully some of the topics that we cover now and some of the skills that we go through are transferable skills that you can use them across a range of departments, topics, industries. This is the session number 2 in the leadership skills series. As I say, we're looking at performance mindsets. There we go. Before we go any further, just to make you aware that there is a special offer. Practical CSM has 30% off all their online training courses, and there is a wealth of information and resource in there covering not only customer success, but leadership skills, problem-solving skills. There's a whole range of topics and subjects and levels. So whether you're an experienced leader or someone that's aspiring to move up, there will be something in there for you. And as I say, at the moment, they're offering 30% off using that code, SKILLS30. And just before I go any further, I'm going to put something in the chat box to remind you that when we finish, if you want to leave some evaluation, that'd be really helpful. It helps us to get better. It helps us to know what you think, what you want, and generally just improve the way we do things. Just to tell you briefly about me, my name is Michael O'Sullivan. I've been running a variety of companies across tech, education, training, design, creative industries, broadcast, for over 30 years, unfortunately, and there are days when it does feel like it, I can assure you. I've had a variety of jobs, including running the European arm of a multinational education training company. We were working across the Middle East, the Far East, and Scandinavia and Europe. So we had a wide range of customers with a wide range of needs and experience. I've also run an Apple training center, Apple certified training center, which was ranked in the top 20 globally in terms of revenue. And in those days, it was called customer feedback. I suppose now you'd say using one of those apps that tells you how wonderful you are. I've also run European Union funded projects for the creative industries, broadcast technology, TV. These were 6-7-figure projects helping freelancers and practitioners to upskill, reskill, and generally develop their professional portfolios. I've also worked as a consultant to more than 100 creative industry companies, startups, next stage growth companies as part of University Innovation Hub, working with them to develop their business plans, their leadership skills. These guys are really good at the technology side of it, obviously. But what they lacked was some of the business skills, how to approach venture capitalists, banks, funders in general, and what they needed to put into their proposals and what they didn't. And sometimes it's just as important to know what not to put in as what to put in. And I've written a couple of undergraduate degrees around monetizing digital assets and managing in the creative industry. So I've had a range of experience. Now you'll see there's a chat window, or there will be a chat window. So if you want to ask any questions, please feel free, or to make any observations. If I can, I'll answer as many as I can. Your participation does help. It makes it better for me, better for you, more interactive, helps me to respond to what you're looking for. And at the end of it, there is an evaluation. As I say, I'll put the link in the chat room, and I think Joel's done the same thing. If you could fill it out, as I say, it'd be helpful and helps us to improve and get better. So what we'll be looking at today are performance mindsets. There's a brief case study and a scenario. And if we have time at the end, we'll do a discussion. So let's start with the question. What do you understand by performance mindset? Have you ever thought about it? Is it needed? Have you got one? And is it going to make you a better leader? Is it going to make you more profitable, more successful? What do you think it is? Have you ever thought about it? Have you ever come across it? Well, I had to think about it, and I wrote down that I think it's a set of attitudes and beliefs, behaviors that define an individual and your approach to leading, managing others, relating to others. Now, these could be colleagues, these could be customers, could be investors, a range of people, and they all have their own set of needs, their own set of requirements, and you need to approach them in a slightly different way. But as an overarching thing, it's about your philosophy and your values. And I think if you have a good set of values, it will hold you in good stead. And in the long run, I think people with good values tend to be successful, not all the time, but most of the time. And there are some people out there that are, should we say, they don't play the game the way perhaps it should be played, and they're equally successful. So I'd say it's horses for courses, but I think generally the better your values and the truer you are to those values, the more successful you're going to be. And also involves strategies and tactics, how you want to motivate your team, how you want to motivate your the wider department or your wider company, and what it takes to move them and you to that next level of success. But the performance mindset is a key factor in that. It's by developing this performance mindset, you can become more effective. And that could be effective in terms of time effective, cost effective, creating a better working environment. So people enjoy coming to work. I mean, I know that might, some people think, oh, how can you enjoy going to work? But if it's a more pleasant place to be, then people are going to work harder. They're going to sort of be part of the team. They see they're achieving something. And if you can inspire and you can motivate, it helps the team to improve and achieve and to hit your goals, whether they are revenue goals, whether they are performance goals. It's a win-win situation. It's a positive place to be, and the leader with a performance mindset, with a positive performance mindset, is a key factor in that, I think. But what are the seven? I've called them here dimensions. You could call them factors. What are the same 7 elements that make the go-to successful performance management? Well, I've thought about it, and I've written down what I think are 7 in no particular order. I've come up with self-awareness, with creativity, emotional intelligence, caring, connections, communication, intuition. Now, people might think intuition, where does that fit? Why do you need intuition? There's no place for intuition in business. It's facts, it's figures, it's good decisions, bad decisions. Where does intuition come into it? Well, we'll see. And the higher good, again, aspiring to do good for good's sake. But quite often, companies that do good for good's sake are successful companies anyway, or they're successful despite or because. Who knows? We'll look at that. So do you agree? Were those 7 the right 7 to have? You have your own opinions, I'm sure. Think about it. If you had to sit back and write down on the piece of paper, what do I think are the key components? What do I think are the drivers, the elements, the dimensions of what makes a good performance leader or performative mindset? Just when you have a moment, sit there, think about them and write them down. But I think quite often it's helpful to think about an example of someone. You see, because you can actually see it better if you can see, oh yes, I can see that person. I can understand that. I can relate to that better now. To put sort of a form on this idea. So I thought of 3, and I'm sure that my 3 won't be the same as your 3, and you'll have a better 3 than mine perhaps, or a 3 more suited to your worldview. But these are the 3 that I came up with. So I started off with Martin Luther King. Generally regarded as a leader who exhibited high levels of emotional intelligence, spokesman for the many, put others before himself, so the greater good, and is demonstrating his empathetic character. But if you think about him, what sort of defined him on our list of 7? Well, he was a great communicator. you may or may not know that in August 1963, there was something they called the Million Members March, Million Persons March. And they reckoned that around 250,000 people, they gathered in Washington, the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., for this event, this speech, where he gave this famous speech that a lot of people think was the greatest speech of the 20th century, the I Have a Dream speech. But think about it. This was in the days before social media. These were in the days before the internet and mass marketing communications. He managed to get 250,000 people to come to Washington. They didn't all live there. They drove there. They, I don't know, got the bus, got the train to hear this guy speak. So there was something about him that communicated itself, his values, his mindset, his charisma, his persona. So as a great communicator, I don't think you can beat him. Think about why he was a great communicator. What did he have? What did he do? Yes, he had a great turn of phrase. I have a dream. Fantastic. But not everyone can do that. But you can improve your communication skills. Oprah Winfrey. Well, walks the walk, talks the talk. And there's no doubt that she has very strong emotional intelligence. She understands, she connects with people. You could say she's a communicator as well. But she gets people and she understands them and she gets them to believe in them, in themselves, and she inspires them. She inspires them. She takes people with her. You want to follow her. You know, if Oprah says, let's get up and walk out the door and do this, then if it's a studio audience, they get up behind her and walk out. So think about, what does Oprah have? What does Oprah do that gives her this ability to inspire people and to make them feel good about themselves? This emotional intelligence that she has. And the third one was a bit slightly different, but Jeff Bezos. Marmite character, you love him or you hate him. But essentially what he did, he was a great creativity and communicating in different ways to different people. And what I've written down, there was an example of what there was an interview he gave, or there was a seminar he was doing, and there was a youngish child that asked him about the Kindle, and he summed it up. If you come across a word you don't recognize, you can look it up. Your notes and your underlinings are stored where they can't be lost. Kindle keeps your place in each book. You're reading automatically. If your eyes are tired, you can change the font size. Well, we all take it for granted. But he managed to sum up what a Kindle does, or did, in a sentence. He did it in a creative way. He did it in a way that they could relate to. Oh yeah, I get tired when I'm reading a book. I can't. So you make the font bigger. Brilliant. I can underline something, or I can do something on the page. Brilliant. Great communicator, creative. So think to yourself, what makes Jeff Bezos good at that? What did he do? How did he understand? Did he put himself in the mind of the seventh grader? Or did he just have this intuition on how to do it? See, it pops up from time to time. So what we're going to look at are these 7 sort of dimensions of performative mindsets. So we call it the mindset challenge. And these are little elements. We'll go into a little more detail and we'll look at and think about how they are. So what does self-awareness mean to you? When you're self-aware, have you ever stopped and thought about what that means? Are you self-aware? How are you self-aware? Do you need to be self-aware? This is what I thought about it. It's thinking about how others view us, taking the wider perspective. Thinking about your assumptions and your communication style. And my communication style will suit some people, it won't suit others. So thinking about how can you generate the lowest common denominator so that you reach the biggest number in the best way. So analyzing what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it. Are you being successful? If you like, sort of step out of yourself and go to the side of the room and watch yourself performing, whether that be doing a presentation, it might be a sales pitch, it might be pitching to investors, a variety of things. think about the way you do it. What's your body language like? Is it positive? Do you have a sense of presence? Do you go into yourself or do you project yourself? It's not everyone's cup of tea. I understand that. But everyone can do it to some degree. But you've got to challenge yourself. Just think about, how do I look to other people? So becoming self-aware is not being self-conscious. It's analysing your own performance, what you're wearing, how you're moving. And successful leaders tend to be highly rated by their colleagues because they're good at all the other little bits. So they'll be liked, they'll be respected, they'll think, oh yeah, this guy, he does what he says he's going to do. This is a woman that achieves things, that is good with people, doesn't let people down. If she says she's going to help you, she does. If he says he's going to get this to you by the end of the week, he does. If you have a problem, he understands your problem. He puts himself in your place, or she'll understand if things aren't going well. You know, they are good at taking the wider perspective. And they don't see much difference between internal and external. Why should you not treat your colleagues like you treat a customer? People notice that. People notice that. And why is it important for performance for a performance mindset, performance leadership, and a performative mindset? Well, we said it originally, it was about attitudes and beliefs and behaviours that define an individual's approach to leading and managing others. Well, part of that is self-awareness, because being self-aware defines how you do these things, and it demonstrates your values, if you like. By being aware enough to change, it shows that you have good values, that you value people, you value effort, you value performance. And can you develop it? Well, of course you can, because you've stood back and thought, oh, yeah, I could probably do better in that particular area. Or, did I handle that situation well? Could I have done that better? Instead of just saying, well, that's how I did it last time and it was all right then. Thinking, well, perhaps it wasn't my finest hour. Perhaps I could have done that a little bit better. If I'd have changed it and done it this way, then perhaps the outcome would have been better, more positive. So yeah, so leaders can develop self-awareness. Now let's think about creativity. What does creativity mean to you? Is creativity being able to draw a picture of a horse or a house? Or is creativity designing a new piece of software? Is creativity coming up with a new workflow? Is creativity solving a problem, approaching a problem in a different way, in an open-minded way? All of those things. Creativity is about looking at the world in a different way. Giving a bit of a sideways look and think, okay, well, do we have to do it this way? I mean, one of the great, you may have come across it, one of the great creativity tests is to give someone or give a group of people an item. Could be brick. Okay, come up with 100 uses for brick. It could be a doorstop. I could plant flowers in it. I can use it to build a wall. I can use it to build a house. I can put it on an end and put something on top. I'll put it on its end and put a mirror on top of it. Lots of things you can do. That's a test of creativity. But think about disruptors. People that come along and just fundamentally change things. The iPhone. I mean, the iPhone might pop up later as well. You never know. But the iPhone was a disruptor. Thought about the world in a creative way, because up until then, mobile phones have been mobile phones. They've been big, small, square, oblong, but they're all matter of muchness. And then, wow, along came the iPhone. Lateral thinking. So you could say that the iPhone was lateral thinking. And positive environment. So we're going back to what we were saying earlier about performance mindsets and performative mindsets and good environments to work in. Positive environment. Part of a positive environment is not being afraid to fail, not being afraid to say the stupid thing, because you never know. And positive environments are created by leaders that are self-aware and are emotionally intelligent and are good communicators. So you see how these things are all sort of linking together. You can't say, oh, creative over there, and I'm going to put another one over here, a self-awareness over here. They're all sort of coming together, which is why we use that circular thing, because they all feed into each other. And can you be creative? Well, yeah. I mean, I had this conversation with a friend of mine who said, creativity is just another muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets and the better you get at it. And you can say that there's nothing original in the world. Everyone's thought of it before. It's a bit like a pizza. So you take a pizza and you put some tomato on the base and you put some salami or some anchovies or whatever, and then you put cheese on top. Well, they're all original components. I mean, they're none of them original components. They're all things people had before. But how you put it together is you. That's you being creative. Whether it's making a pizza or designing a house or thinking of a better way to do something in an office, that's being creative. The more you think about it, the better you get at it. And if you think of it in a creative way and be a bit of a disruptor, well, that's how you achieve things. Think of the good old iPhone, as I say. And why is it important for performance leadership? Well, how isn't it important? Looking at problems in a new way, thinking about ways to improve a product you have or a service you have. Is there a better way to handle customer returns? You know, I've sold them something, which is half the battle, and hopefully you've marketed it to them in a creative way, so they bought it. You've sold it to them, great. Delivered it to them, great. But they want to give it back. Okay. Can we do this better? So if they're going to give it back, can we get it back better, i.e. cheaper for us and better for the customer? So they although they might be disappointed with the product, they're pleased with the service, so they'll come back to us because they had this overall positive experience. So thinking about things, how to do it better, not same old, different and creative. And can leaders develop it? Of course they can. As I said, it's like this muscle. The more you use it, the more you exercise it, the stronger you get. If you start to run, and the first time you go for a run is terrible. And unless you happen to be one of these really exceptional people that can just get up and run, really irritating people. Anyway, apologies if there's any really irritating good runners who can just run out there. But the more they do it, the better they get. The faster they get, the further they can run. And it's the same with creativity. The more you exercise that muscle, the better you get at it. And emotional intelligence. Well, we've spoken about emotional intelligence with opera. And our original performance mindset, one of the key elements of it was to motivate a team. And one way you motivate a team is with using emotional intelligence. And understanding your emotions and calibrating your responses to people by being a little more reflective, perhaps, you become a little more positive and you think, well, okay, could have done better. I understand that things didn't go well. Why didn't they go well? Let's analyze it rather than just shout, because shouting, although it makes you feel better for 10 or 15, 20 seconds, certainly does when I do it, doesn't actually achieve anything, really. Well, you think about it, what have you achieved? You've upset the person that came to you either for help or to explain why something went wrong. You haven't actually solved the problem. And if you like, you build up a barrier, or they're less likely to come to you with their problems in the future. I did an interview with someone a while back now, and I said, what's one of your biggest problems? He said, feedback. Honest, good feedback. He said, people tend to give you feedback of what they think you want to hear. So good feedback is priceless. So by being positive, and emotions are contagious. So if you're angry, you tend to get angry people around you. If you get depressed, similarly, you tend to get angry and depressed people around you. And that's not conducive to getting the good quality feedback that is useful, is vital, really, to knowing what people really think. So they've got to be willing to talk to you. So if you're emotionally intelligent, they're more likely to talk to you. You build this constructive and this confident environment, this sort of can-do, I'm going to work and achieve attitude. And positive emotions tend to attract success. It's a great place to work. You really want to go and work there. It's a great place to work. The people are good, the leaders are good. They help you to develop as an individual. They help you to become in turn a good leader. Great teams, positive place to work. Yeah, love it there. You really want to go there. So that's why emotional intelligence is so important for performance leadership. It creates this environment where we go back to, again, this circular thing, that people aren't afraid to fail. They don't mind trying. I'm sure most of you heard this thing about Edison and the light bulb. He said, I didn't fail 999 times. I just found 999 times. I found 999 ways how not to make a light bulb. So it's that sort of mindset that with good emotional intelligence is generating this sort of happiness field. I don't want to go all touchy-feely on you here, but this sort of happiness field around it, and it's generally a positive place to be. Can you develop it? Yes, of course you can. It's about, if you like, self-awareness and thinking about how you're projecting yourself. What's your body language like? Is it positive? And being aware of how other people are. Is one of your colleagues having a bad day? Everyone has bad days. Why are they having a bad day? I'm not saying you're going to go and put your hand around them all the time and say, oh, you poor old thing, come and sit down, have a cup of tea, tell me all about it. I'm not saying that. But being aware of people that are not having a good day, that perhaps now isn't the best time to give them a talking to for not getting that project in on time or not getting that report to you on time. Yeah, mention it, said that I was expecting that today. When can I get it? Now, isn't that a better way of saying it than, where's that report? Why isn't it here? What is the matter with you? Two ways of approaching it. One is slightly more emotionally intelligent than the other, I suspect. And that really leads into carings and connections. Approaching people in a positive, empathetic way. Because by doing that, you build teams that have high levels of trust. They tend to be more successful because they work for each other. They have shared goals. They have shared values. They have shared outlooks. And they don't feel that it's a them and us. Yes, there has to be a divide between high levels of management and the managers that do the day-to-day, the grunt, if you like, the hard work. But by getting across your philosophy and what motivates you and giving the bigger picture, communicating, we're back to those again, the bigger picture, that generally speaking, organizations that create high levels of care for employees tend to be happier places to work. And then when they're interacting with customers get to feel that. You must have had conversations where you've rung up customer support and you just get this air, this aura of, oh gosh, that person doesn't want to be there. Either they're having a terribly bad day or they just hate what they do. And that communicates to customers. Or they go into a showroom, or they have customer support, they have follow-up, customer success managers go in to do a job. And if they're generally pleased with life, enjoy what they do, enjoy their environment, it communicates. It's contagious. So if the company looks after its staff, looks after its employees, you as a manager or a leader look after your colleagues, it shows, it radiates out. That's one of the reasons why it's important. It's good for client relations, it's good for customer relations, it's good for investor relations. It's important for lots of reasons, for the bottom line, for revenue generation. It could be for making sure you make enough widgets that month, or the software. Every bit of software has a bug in it somewhere. It just does. That's the nature of the beast. So when people find there's a bug, working with them to sort it out, being positive, being communicative. If you feel that your manager or the C-suite is behind you, you're more likely to be positive and try and help and go that extra mile, and it makes a huge difference. Yes, it can be developed. Some people are better at it than others, but nobody is born being a great relator to people. Some people are better at it, of course. Having the right sort of mindset and this willingness to develop and try and inspire and motivate, and how can I do this better, being self-aware, being a bit reflective. So it can be done. It just takes some people longer than others. It's perhaps one of the more difficult ones to do because not everyone is naturally like it. But yes, it can be, let's say it can be improved. Communications. What's communication about? Well, it's about sharing information, gathering and sharing information. Listening, balancing listening with asserting. Have you come across something called active listening? It's something I deal with more and more, or people ask me about more and more. Active listening, this 80-20 rule. Spend 80% of your time listening and 20% of your time talking, especially when you're with a customer. So it's getting that balance between, and I know balance implies 50-50, but in this sort of situation, I don't think it is. It's the balance is around 80-20. Because if you can actively listen and then you can communicate with your counterparty, if you know what they actually want by actively listening to them rather than, oh, yeah, okay, well, let me tell you about what I'm trying to tell you, or let me tell you about my products, or let me tell you about my workflow, or let me tell you about me. It puts people off. People just, oh, gosh, what's the point of talking to this person? Oh, this idiot. Whereas active listening, understanding what they want and then addressing their needs, so you actually communicate well with them because you understand what they want, and they feel better about themselves and they feel better about you because they feel that you value them. You value them. So you're communicating with them. So this lack of balance, this lack of listening, and this tendency, certainly with some salespeople, and I used to be like that. Yeah. Fine. Just listen to what I've got to say. I'm much more interesting. I'm much more important than you are. It's much more important that I sell you something, if you see what I mean. It's negative impacts. They don't feel valued. They don't feel any empathy. They don't feel that you're a caring, compassionate person, that you're not very self-aware. We can build them all in. But think about communicating in simple terms, in simple images, simple messages. Coke is a great example. When people think about Coke, what do you think about? You say Coke, what pops into your head? How many of you sit there and think, oh yeah, red can, red and white can. Man or woman standing there, holding the can, smiling. 2 or 3 people together, smiling, Coke can. Ever such a simple image, ever so powerful. And because it's a simple image and a simple message, it wins every time. And Coke listened to what people wanted. What did Coke represent to them? Well, it represents having a chat with a friend, it's a social situation, it's positive, it's happy. Have a Coke. You may like, people might not like Coke, fair enough. They might like fizzy, carbonated, sweet, sugary drinks. Fine. But the image of Coke, and you associate with Coke, smiling person, standing there, red and white can. Brilliant communication, brilliant imagery. Again, thinking back to Jeff Bezos, explaining a Kindle to a 7th grader in a paragraph. Didn't need to say it's a tablet, didn't need to say it's electronic. This is what it can do for you. Simple. That's the way to communicate. Why? Because they listen to what people had to say. This 80-20 thing, this active listening. So I think I've already covered that, why it's important. And it's equally important for you as a leader, as a performance leader with a performative mindset, to listen to what people have to say, whether they be customers, whether they be suppliers, whether they be investors, because you can save yourself a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money by listening to what people have to say, communicating with them, and giving them what they actually want rather than what you think they want, and actually communicating. Can you develop it? Well, yes. Yes. I mean, I don't want to be unkind, but a pretty good place to start is to be quiet when having a conversation with someone. All right, tell me about your product. Tell me about what you want to achieve. What are you looking for in my product? Not what can my product do for you, but what are you listening? What are you looking for? What's the most important part of the process to you? Is it the marketing of the pair of shoes or the sneakers? Is it the marketing of the sneakers? Is it the ease to buy them? Obviously, price. Is it easy enough to return? Plenty of people I know, one of the first things they look at when they're looking to shop online, how easy is it to get it back? So that listening, communicating, can you develop it? Well, you can, just practice. It's sitting down and thinking, okay, let's start this off in a certain way and go from there. Intuition. What place does intuition play in the modern business world? No place for it. It's data-driven, it's hard facts, it's 2 and 2 equals 4, it's money in, product made, money out, difference between the two. There's no place, there's no room for intuition. Let me remind you about the late, great Steve Jobs, and I will freely admit to being a bit of an Apple fanboy. When you think about the iPhone, is that a case of an iterative process where they said, right, I'm going to develop this phone and I'm going to get there by taking step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so as well. Yeah. Jonathan Ive, the guy that designed all the great Apple products, probably, yes, all the great Apple products, and the software and the look and feel. He didn't build the software, but he designed the look and feel of it, and he designed the idea of the iPhone. So when he went to Steve Jobs and said, Steve, I've got this idea for a brilliant thing, they're going to call it the iPhone. And this is what it's going to do. Now, Steve Jobs could have said, oh, look, Johnny, don't be an idiot. Look at what everyone else is producing. They're all producing the Nokia this and the Sony that, and the, back in the day, the Samsung, I think Samsung this, blah, blah, blah. No one's doing it like that. They're all doing it like this, variations on a theme. And he said, Steve, I've got this great idea. Now, business Steve, is he going to say, yeah, we're going to run with this? Or is intuition Steve the more important one here? The ability to understand something instinctively without the need for conscious reasoning. Because if you looked at the nuts and bolts and the figures, there's no reason why you should make the iPhone. It was so different. It was this disruptor we talked about earlier, this creativity, this disruptor. And if you look at a lot of the Apple products, they're all disruptors, different iterations of their computers and their software and the way they do things. And then iPhone comes along, and then iPods and the iStore, the music store. Are they business decisions, rational business decisions? Or do they all come from this intuitive leap that Steve Jobs took and others have taken as well, I freely admit. And you could make the same case about Netflix, that started off, well, as you may or may not know, as a video rental store. Then all of a sudden, the two founders around 10, 12 years ago now, decided that they couldn't compete with the big video rental store. I can't think of the name of it now. Anyway, Blockbuster, that's it. So they pivoted and said, no, we're going to stream. We're going to turn this into a streaming company, and we're going to stream movies, and we're going to stream TV. Intuition, just got this feeling this could be the right way to go. Yeah, but there's going to be some underlying business decisions in there, but there's a lot of intuition in there. And if you look, the 36 CEOs in 2014, 85% said that intuition was central to the business-making decisions, the decision-making process. And it's about experience, isn't it? It's about having some experience. Based on my experience, I think this is going to be a good idea. Based on my experience, I think that's going to be a good idea. And there are some psychologists that say there's a dual process out there. It's a split between experiential and rational. and how you divvy that up, I suppose, is part of your personality. So I think intuition does have a part to play, does have a stronger part to play than people give it credit for. I'm not saying this is gung-ho, oh, let's go for it, who cares? It's not as simple as that. You've got to weigh it up. There's got to be some rational, deliberate, analytical element to it. But I think intuition does play more of a part, because without intuition, you could argue no iPhone, no Netflix. You could say no Amazon, maybe. No, there's no market for this. This will never take off. Well, I would imagine if there was a fund created that had $1 or a euro or a pound put in it, where every time said, oh, there's no market for that, it will never take off. Well, that would be a fairly large fund, I think, by now. So it has a role to play, I think. Think about it from your own point of view. How many times have you thought, that's never going to work, that's never going to fly, and then you just leave it go? Whereas you said, I think, well, actually, I don't know. Let's not dismiss it out of hand. Let's think about this. Let's think about whether this is opportune. Let's do a bit of market research here. Let's ask the customer. Let's do a bit of communicating with people and ask them what they think in general terms about this, that, or the other. So that's why intuition, I think, does have a role to play as a disruptor, as a creative element, to think about different ways of doing things. And maybe this is not such a bad idea after all. Can you develop it? Well, I have a conversation again with a colleague of mine, a friend of mine, about creativity. He says you can, it's a muscle, as I said before, that you can develop and you can use it. I said, well, no, some people are more creative than others. And he said, nonsense. They've worked harder at it than you have. Talk to me. So, okay. But now I try to be creative in things that I do. And he's irritatingly enough, he's right. The more you do it, the more creative you can become, the more creatively you can think, the more original, the more disruptively you can think. So can you develop intuition in the same way? Yeah, because you develop experience. Based on my experience, I think this might be a good idea. It's not something you should rely on totally, no. It's something I think that is an element, it's in the mix. Rather than say, this has never been done before, I'm sure Henry Ford, they said to Henry Ford, it's never been done this way before, old chap. You don't make cars like that, don't be daft. Well, he didn't do so bad. As a friend of mine would say, I should be $1 behind him. So it's in the mix. It's something that I think business leaders should maybe not rely on, but they should certainly think about how they do things. And the upside, now, good old friend, Netflix, the iPhone, maybe Amazon, Henry Ford and his Model T. You can come up with lots of times that disruptors, I suppose you could say Elon Musk and the car, the Tesla, that disrupting a traditional industry. Well, maybe you can say it's driven by circumstance, but even so, he didn't say, oh, no, it can't be done. He said, let's be innovative here. Let's just have a bit of intuition. Let's be a bit creative. The downside is, well, if you say not using your experience and just sort of going gung-ho at it, and to hell with it, just throw resource at it and not let's think about it. So there are downsides to it. So that you have to be, I think, you have to be measured, you have to be a bit reasonable. What does the higher good mean to you? Well, again, doing the right thing for the right reasons and worrying about the consequences later. Corporate social responsibility is a big issue now. Customers like it. Doing the right thing is often good for business. Companies that do the right thing and are seen to do the right thing, working towards the higher good, that have some spin-offs that benefit wider society and the environment. It's good for business. It's good for business externally because customers like it. They like ethical companies. Ethical companies tend to do well. And it's good for people working. People like to work for ethical companies. They like to work for companies that they feel are contributing to the greater good. So even if you say, well, I'm just going to do it because it's the right thing to do, that's fine. But you tend to find that companies that do the right thing do quite well. Why is it good? Because it creates this positive environment again, this sense that, yes, we're here to make money because we need to pay the bills at the end of the month. But it's not just about that. We're doing something that is benefiting the wider environment. We have the green energy. We're a wind farm. We produce electricity from wind farms, from solar power, from geothermal energy, heat. And yes, we're making money, but we're doing it for the higher good. And people prefer, if they can, usually, to buy from a company that is seen to be green, that is seen to be ethical, that is seen to be working for the higher good. So I'm not saying that you do it just for that, because it's a business when all's said and done. But if you can develop that higher good, that ethos, that environment, that positive environment, good for the company, good for business, good for you, good for your employees. If you can do it, it's not always possible. Someone's got to work for an oil company. I accept that. But if you can emphasize the higher good, corporate social responsibility, which is not just about sustainability, it's about lots of other things. Treating people right, paying the minimum wage, just treating people well, treating people better, treating people how you want to be treated yourself. It's not complicated. And it can be done. The leader might say, how would I want to be treated in this situation? And treat that person the same as you would. So those are our 7 mindset, 7 elements, the 7 parts of the mindset challenge. I hope you found them interesting, and I hope that you feel that you can relate to some of them, you could improve some of them. But what do you think? What do they mean to you? Which are your strongest elements of this? Are you very creative? Are you particularly self-aware? Are you just really emotionally intelligent? Are you good with other people? Yeah, lots of different things for lots of different industries. But think about what you're good at, and conversely, what aren't you very good at? Are you not very good at communicating with people, with customers, with suppliers? With your shareholders, with venture capitalists or other types of shareholder? How could you improve it? What do you need to work on? And even if you're pretty good at it, doesn't mean you don't need to work at it. And what are the practical steps you can take? There's lots of online stuff, self-help stuff, lots of YouTube videos, and so on and so forth. So there are lots of things that you can do, but you need to take the steps and say, what am I good at? What aren't I very good at? And even if I'm good at it, do I need to improve? Once you've done that, you can, how do I do better? There'll be workshops. You can bring in third-party people, third-party moderators and mentors to help you through, to help teams. Book workshops for teams of your colleagues. What's the company very good at? Are we really good at creativity in this area? Are we not very good in that area? Why not? Can you run a creativity workshop? Think about intuition. Can you bring someone in to talk about intuition? I mean, it's interesting. You can bring in someone to talk about one part of it and develop it into another part. So you can bring these all things together, because you do need a holistic approach. You can't just look at them in splendid isolation. They're a circle for a reason, because they all feed into each other and they all become part of the whole. But let's just have a little quick case study. I mean, it's not Zendor isn't the name of this remarkable company, but we thought we'd use it anyway. But it's a startup that specializes in developing innovative software, for the healthcare industry. It started off with a small team of developers, and it's been growing to become a leading player. The success of the company has been put down when people have done they did an article in one of the business magazines about it, that they had this performance mindset, which sort of drove this commitment to innovation and continuous improvement, these sort of agile processes, and I'm sure you've come across all these sort of things. Now, the thing about the healthcare industry is highly regulated, and there are many challenges to developing software. Partly because all the software needs to talk to each other. So, well, you might have a particular part of the market which is you're very good at, but you can't exist in splendid isolation. So you need to address the complex needs of the healthcare providers. And the market is very competitive because it's a big market. It's a very valuable market. So they had the challenge that they needed to build software that complied with the regulations, because it's highly regulated. But also, you had to have a USP. It had to be something that set them apart. You had to be a bit of a disruptor. So, by using this performance mindset, this sort of these different elements, that they can work through being, you can work hard, you can be dedicated, and you can have a commitment to continuous improvement. Also, can 30, 50, 100 other companies. So, what's going to make them different? Being self-aware. Why are they good? Why are they bad? Where are they good? Where are they bad? What do they need to improve in? By being innovative and creative. And, okay, viewing challenges as opportunities. Yeah, it sounds really good, but I can't do this. Is a challenge. I can't do this. So it's an opportunity to think creatively, to be disruptive. And they focused on the R&D. They invested heavily in research, but they've got feedback. They went out and communicated. They talked to people and said, what do you want this software to do? They didn't say, I think I know what this software should do. Sorry, I've just noticed something from Anna. I'll be honest with you, it's not a very good advert for me. I'm not very good on LinkedIn, actually. I don't use LinkedIn very much. I am there, but I'm not there very much. Where was I? Sorry. So, Anna, if you want to contact me through Practical CSM, I'll help you if I can. Where was I? Oh, yes. They spoke to their customers. They communicated with them. As I say, what do you need this software to do? What do you want it to do? What would you like it to do? What do you need it to do? And then the regulators, what does this software need to be able to comply with? What does it need to be able to conform to? Do I need to produce reports? If so, what sort of report? When do you need them? So on and so forth. So there's this sort of two-way process going on here. So they've got this innovation and this disruption and this creativity, but at the same time, there's no point in being creative and disruptive and all this sort of business if you're not providing what the customer wants, what the regulator will need. Because you can build this brilliant piece of software and the regulator says, doesn't meet the regulations, mate, sorry. Go back and change it. And then you have to go back and change it, and then it might not do what the customer wants, blah, blah, blah. So there's this sort of this iterative process where you start off with an idea and you go and say to the regulator, this is what I'm going to do. And he'll say, no, you can't do that. Do it this way. Because most regulators, in my experience, and I've dealt with a few, God bless them, are quite helpful because he wants to make their life easy. Most customers are pretty sure about what they want. I need it to do this. I want it to do that. Oh, okay. I hadn't thought of that. So if I do this like this, I said, yeah, that's a good idea. This is what I needed to do. So you see how this develops. So by being communicative and innovative and a bit of intuition, based on what I did last time, I think this might work. So you go to the customer and say, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Oh, yeah. Well, I hadn't thought of that. Yes, I could use it in this way. So you see how these things work as a two-way process. So hard work, go-get-em attitude, brilliant. Not going to get you all the way. So in addition to this research and development, say they encourage a culture of continuous learning and development. So there was staff development in there as well. Hey, there's a new bit of software come out, Chat GPT, that I'm sure you've all heard of. So this has turned up for this company, and I've no idea whether it did or not. I'm using it as an example. They said, how can we use Chat GPT? I know, we'll send our colleagues on a continuous learning and development course. So go out there and learn about it. Go out there and develop it. See, is it relevant to us? Can it be used? Is it going to impact on us in the future? Do we need to be aware of it? Do we need to do something about it? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Go to conferences, stay up to date with industry trends. See this positive environment, this making people feel good about themselves. Yes, the company is investing in me. I like this company. They invest in people. They value people. They're emotionally intelligent. See, these things all fit together. So they invested in training and then in development to make sure that not only they were aware of threats to their business, but they're investing in the people. So they had the skills and the knowledge to develop the right sort of software, use the best tools for the job. Maybe ChatGPT was the thing that turned the corner for them. Maybe it wasn't. Who knows? But the point is, you've got to be aware of these things when they turn up. And as a result, they've had significant success in the healthcare software market. They gained a reputation for innovation and quality, and they got high value contracts because they've supplied what people wanted, not what they thought people wanted. And it was praised for its ease of use, its innovative features, software that works out of the box. Now, there's a novelty. And compliance with regulatory requirements. Why does it comply with the regulatory requirements? Not easy to say. Because they knew what they were and they spoke to the regulators. They communicated. They went to the regulator and say, what do I need to do? Active listening. And as a result, they've opened market offices in new markets. They've expanded. And their product offerings now include software from other industries. So it's a case study. Aren't they jolly good? Everyone says, well, no, they worked at being good. They thought about what does good look like. And so I'm conscious of running out of time. I just thought I'd do this, excuse me, this quick scenario. These 4 situations this leader can find themselves in. So it's about challenge and failure, disagreement with a subordinate, having to make a decision that involves risk, and having a subordinate that's underperforming, excuse me. So we'll go with leader A. Where are we? Leader A. Okay, so challenges and failure. Well, that's something to avoid. Disagreement, it's a threat. Risk, no, don't fancy that. And underperforming employee, well, no good, get rid of them. Don't need them. That's leader A. Leader B, unsurprisingly, sees challenges and failure as an opportunity to learn and grow. Why did it go wrong? What was the challenge here? Why didn't we meet the challenge? Disagreement, okay. I think they may have a point of view here. They may have something. They may be right about something. They may be right about it all. So can I learn from this? This is emotional intelligence. This is self-awareness. Can I learn from it? Risk. Well, risk is necessary for obtaining rewards. Let's go back to our good old friend, the iPhone. Without risk, no iPhone. He's pretty sure it's going to work. Steve is pretty sure it's going to work. And Johnny Ives has designed a really nice piece of kit. He's not sure. So you've got to take a risk with a bit of intuition, with a bit of experience. Yeah, I think this is going to be a good one. Underperforming employee. Why are they underperforming? Why are we just assuming? Why are we just assuming that get rid of them if they're underperforming? There might be a good reason for it. We might not have trained him properly. We might not be giving him the right kit. He might not have the right tools to do the job. He may need support to do better, and he might turn out to be our top performer next year. Possible. So, who are you going to follow? Are you going to follow leader A? Get rid of them all. Risk is a threat, it's a risk. Leader B. Okay, they may have a point. Let's see if we haven't trained them properly. Risks are necessary in the right situation. But I've answered the why. I think I've probably answered the why. Which one do you want to work for? Which one would you prefer to have as part of your working environment? Well, feedback from the focus group overwhelmingly picked, perhaps unsurprisingly, leader B. And I would like to think that most of you out there thought about leader B. But. Industry research suggests that only 5% of leaders operate like leader B consistently. So what it actually demonstrates, I think, is that performative leadership is not what leaders do. It's how they do things, what the behaviors they engage in, how they see and interpret situations. Everyone finds themselves in awkward situations. How do you deal with it? I'm not saying you can't consistently put your arm around someone, you can't consistently take risks, but how you operate in general, rather than looking at specifics of 4 situations, it's this bigger picture, this holistic approach. What do you think? Have I got the right idea? Can performance-orientated leadership be learned? Is it a process that can be followed? I don't know that it's a process. I think it's a state of mind. And I think if you work at it, you can get there. Some people get there sooner than others. I must freely admit that I didn't get there straight away. And if you hold on just a second, I will give you that circular grid that I think you're looking for. If you held on, do you mean can't get past it? There we go. That one. Natasha, is that the one you're looking for? So as I was saying, is it a process? Probably not. Is it state of mind? Possibly. Is it being aware of how you're doing things, how you approach people? So the sort of the vibes that you give off. Excellent. Thank you, Natasha. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've possibly learned something. As I say, if you want to drop us a line at Practical CSM, we'll be happy to talk to you. And please fill out the evaluation because, as I say, it helps us to get better. So thank you for your time. Thanks for attending. And hopefully we'll see you for the next one. Thanks a lot. Goodbye now.